Once I started my career at the Lake Wales Police Department, I realized something quickly. I'm not a school teacher. Some of what you're going to hear, you might think, yeah, I've heard that before from my parents, I've heard that before from my teachers, but I want to speak to you just from the heart, from Troy to you. I realized quickly that when I graduated the police academy, I had 3 classes left in my degree program that I didn't finish in 1994. It was 8 years later, because I kept telling myself, I'll go back, I'll go back, I'll go back. 8 years later, I finished my 2-year degree. And then in 2011, I finished my 4-year degree. The reason I went back to school was 2 things. One, I wanted my children to see the importance of education and for them to know that it didn't have to be college, but for me, that was my path. My wife went through Ridge Technical College, or we called it Ridge Tech at the time, and she received certifications to go into cosmetology. We both thought it was important for our children to see that you needed to continue education. It didn't stop when you graduate or when you put on switch that tassel from one side to the next. It continues. This thing called education that you're in right now, coming to school. Right now, you feel like you have to be here. But I'm going to tell you, in an adult life, you're going to want to continue if you want to advance, if you want to improve, if you want to see pay raises, if you want your pensions to look better, if you want to get promoted. That's where you're going to find yourself, is going back to school further. In my law enforcement career, I got to see quite a bit. I did a little bit of everything. I stayed in Lake Wales my whole career. I've done detective work. I've done canine. I've traffic enforcement and traffic crashes. Because I was from here, I never did the narcotics investigations. I did the behind the scenes, but I was never the guy out on the narcotics scene because everybody knew my face. I was from here. I was a local face. So I didn't get out there and do that. But what I began finding my call in life, where I was drawn, was to the people of this community and the people that I worked with. Yes, I was there to enforce laws. Yes, I was there to seek out what was right and wrong, what the statute said, what was culturally right, what were the norms and the values and the standards of this community, and how did I keep it safe and help keep people able to go home at night and their stuff not get stolen, their stuff not got broken into, them not getting in fights on the way home from school. How did I help that out? And it was getting to know the people. It was building relationships. The friendships that you have here, they're going to change when you get in high school. Some of you will remain friends in high school. But then when you get in high school, it's going to change. And when you leave high school, it's going to change. Not because anyone's done anything wrong. It's just our lives. As we're in school, they take this path like this, and they begin opening up, and you find yourself going in different directions. As a police officer, I found myself going in a very different direction than most of my friends. And you find out real quick what the definition of a friend is. I know you guys have heard that, but it truly is. If you've got a couple of good friends, keep them close to you. Most importantly, though, is you be that good friend. If you start now realizing the importance of relationships and how important your people in your life are to you, and you should be important to them, that will tie directly into your workplace. It will come with you because it becomes who you are, not just what you're doing, not just I have to sit by this person because we're in class, or they're cool, so if I hang with them at lunch, I'm going to look popular. It becomes something that's inside you, and it becomes what you do every day. It's not even something you think about. Just being a good friend turns you into maybe a good relationship with your parents or whoever your caretaker is. Maybe a good relationship with your boss or your coworkers. After my career in law enforcement, I'm still on part-time. I'm still a sworn police officer. I work with Officer Mungeon from time to time. But I took a different career path. Things started changing. What ended up happening is I did a career change. I'll make it short without boring you with any of the details of why. I will throw in a couple, though. When you start thinking about jobs, if you were to ask my children, I know they're 26 and 23 now, I just shared that with you, but all the way back to your age, if you'd have asked my kids, hey, how does your dad teach you to spell job? They would say BENEFITS, benefits. That's what they would say, because I at a young age, I started talking to them about benefits. What kind of advancement do you have? What kind of shelf life or longevity does this job have that you're looking at? What is your insurance? What do your insurance benefits look like? What are you going to do when you leave, when you retire? What does that look like? Does it mean you just stop working and you don't get a paycheck anymore? Or have you done investments through your career that have prepared you for life after your job? It's an important thing for you guys to think about too. Yeah, you might be able to go somewhere right now and make $25 an hour, but if you have no benefits attached to that, you're going to be spending I don't know, probably 10 of those dollars an hour to pay for your insurance. At least 10 of those dollars. To put it in perspective, when I left the police department, a brand new officer would be making around $40,000 a year. That was his or her salary that they took home. That police officer cost the city $58,000 a year. So $18,000 were going into benefits every year into that police officer, be it through their pension, be it through their insurance. So when you start looking at what you're going to do in life, think about, what do I want to do? What's deep inside me? What is my passion? What do I enjoy doing? What will pay the bills? And what will help me with benefits? So my employment, when I left the police department full-time to come here, you've met the guys from CCI already. These guys are welders, they're plumbers, they're pipe fitters, they're electricians, they're painters. I didn't do any of that stuff. Nothing. I'm not a skilled toolsman or tradesman. People were where I had spent my whole life. So I had to learn a lot about all this different stuff, and these are just a few examples. Before I left the police department, I went back to Florida State University on an online course, and I took a class in certified public management, teaching me how to work with people outside, not just in law enforcement, but everywhere. And since I've been here, I've been to USF. They have classes in connection with OSHA, and they teach me all about this stuff. Personal protective equipment, how to do work and do it safely. Who's heard of OSHA? Occupational Safety and Hazards Act. It's the organization that was put in place to keep everybody safe, all the employees safe, because prior to that, people were getting hurt and there was nothing to do, no recourse for them. But in 1971, this is put in place, and now they hire people like me to come to work and make sure that employees like you are doing your job and doing it safely. The company has a standard to keep, and that's to give you a safe workplace, and you have rules to follow. My position with this company, with CCI, Chemical Containers Incorporated, is safety, human resources. My title is plant manager, but all that title means is I'm responsible for a lot of areas. I have my hands in a lot of places. Everything from plant safety to purchasing to human resources to drug-free workplace. If somebody gets hurt at work, taking care of them. Making sure we have the proper equipment on the property. If you want to step up here to the table where I can show you a couple of things real quick. You guys come all together. You don't have to come one by one or in a certain order, but I do want you to come up here. I want to point out a couple of things. It's a one-way valve mask. Air only goes one way. You put this over their mouth, and you administer CPR through the mouthpiece. That way you're not putting your mouth on theirs. There's no chance of them, I'm not trying to be gross here, but sometimes you do CPR, people vomit. Or they spit water if they've been underwater. But this prevents that, so it keeps you safe. Some of the things the guys do, especially if you guys met the guys in the truck, their department gets really loud sometimes. They have a saw that's running all the time. It's cutting aluminum. They wear ear protection to keep their ears safe. Different types of safety glasses. Some are shaded, and there's really no difference in the level of safety of these. Some are shaded, some are not. But if they're doing work that, like cutting metal or shaving metal, they can put these goggles on. There's different styles of them. If somebody goes into shock, we're required to have these they help keep the body temperature nice and warm. They're protective. This is a small blanket. It's an aluminum emergency blanket. There's something when the body goes into shock, it's keeping the person calm, not letting them get too cold, which that keeps them safe with that. Right now, it's just plastic, and you guys can feel it and pass it around. It's just a plastic container, and it's nothing but if someone gets injured, if somebody gets hurt, if somebody is overheated, who wants to pop it? Go ahead. Yeah, don't pop the plastic. Yeah, go ahead, do the honors. Just bend it, pop it. Don't pop the plastic, just shake it. Now pass it back here. It's to bring body temperature down. If someone hurts a wrist, you can keep the swelling down with it. It goes from a plastic container, plastic container that just feels like it's got beads in it, to basically you've got an ice pack. It's a chemical reaction that happens in there that causes that cold. The most common injury that we deal with comes from blades or sharp objects at our workplace. That's the most common one. Who thinks that these rubber gloves, so this is a utility knife, standard utility knife, but there's all different types of sharp objects out there. And the guys grab gloves like this because they look cool. Where I work at, the black gloves are the popular ones. The orange ones, some of the guys like because they have little extra grip on them to help them hold on. But who thinks with a utility knife or a sharp object, either of these are going to help you? They're not. They're not designed for that. Which ones do you think is going to help you out? Yeah, these. There's two different layers or types of safety here. These gloves don't protect from a cut at all. There's no protection at all. This is just, this is more like personal protective equipment from things like hydraulic oil, or if somebody was to be bleeding or to be bodily fluid somewhere. The gloves this young man's putting on is the next level of safety. They have a low cut risk rating. You can use those type gloves when you're working around sharp objects. Metal that has been welded, it's got sharp edges on it. But those gloves, the black and gray ones, those are the highest cut rating that we have at work until you shift to a completely different type of glove that the welders use. But those have a high cut rating on those. Chances of you getting a cut or a stick from something with those it's reduced greatly. I'm not going to say it's next to none, but it's reduced greatly. Our first aid kits, I just brought a couple examples of things that you're used to probably seeing. Regular Band-Aids, hydrogen peroxide, eye wash. I know eye wash is one of the things that people think, hey, why do you need eye wash? But when you're at work and you're working around woods and metals and things that are being cut and shaved, stuff gets in your eyes. Especially if they're not wearing these. And I can tell you right now, my biggest challenge at work is to get guys to wear these, because how cool do I look? Not really, right? Nobody likes them because it just doesn't look cool, right? So some of the guys prefer these, and I think they look worse, but some of them like them because they're shaded. I think, all right, they look better. And hardly nobody wants to wear Let's Go Swimming, the goggles. But this offers more protection than these. So if you're somebody using a tool like this is a hand grinder. So it's got a head on it, and it can take anything from a really small disc up to about a 4 or 6 inch disc that goes out. The really small discs, I'm not going to get into sizes, but the really small discs don't require a guard. The larger discs, they require a guard to go around them because the disc can actually pop or explode or break, and then all of a sudden this thing is spinning wide open as you're cutting down the edge of something or as you're grinding off a corner. So the guys that are working, let's pretend that this thing is running, and there's a disc on the end of it, and it's going to try to smooth this out. And here I am working. It's dangerous. If you don't have on at least safety glasses or goggles to prevent whatever's coming from there from shooting up. How many of you have used a weed eater? How about a blender at home? How many of those things now, if you've got old ones, they may still work like this. You just turn them on and they run. But a lot of them have switches. It's called a pressure switch like this. You can see this thing is locked, right? So this was plugged in to get this to activate. You've got to squeeze this button. And there's a little safety on it. You just push it down, and now you can squeeze it, and it would turn on. If something happened to me that I fell, tripped, stumbled over the cord, dropped this tool, and let go, it immediately turns off, much like your weed eater. You're pulling the trigger on the weed eater, the throttle, a lawnmower, right? You let go of the lawnmower, or the riding lawnmowers, if you haven't disengaged them, when you raise up off the seat, they shut off. There's all kinds of things now that have pressure switches on them for your safety. And my job is partially to go around and make sure, are the guys using their guards on this? Are they wearing their glasses to keep them safe? Do these pressure switches actually work? If somebody gets hurt, do we have the PPE? Personal protective equipment, such as this stuff. When COVID was going on, we all had to wear masks like this, right? These are called dust masks. These block large particles. Our guys wear these when they're sweeping the floor, maybe working out in a dusty area. This is a dust particle mask. If we started cutting drywall or messing with this drop ceiling here, and you have this on, everything that can fall down in here, I don't care if you pinch this thing around your nose or not, it comes in the sides, it goes down in the nose, and it pulls right through here. This is designed to stop large particles, not small particles like fumes. This is your N95. This is maybe a mask that you've been familiar with as well. Heard them talk about an N95. Depending on what they're doing, some of our workers use the N95s and others use N100s. But I want you to feel the difference between the two. This N95 is what our painters use if they're not in a full respirator. They use this when they're sanding because if not, that stuff's going to come right through these masks. And I have to make sure they've been provided the right equipment and that they're wearing it safely. So pass these around. You can just feel the difference between the two of them. There's other things at our workplace that we do, and I don't know if they shared this with you, but in the truck that you guys saw, did it have a big tank in it or a big tank? A really big tank? Okay, so those guys, some of those guys go inside those tanks to work. Some of those tanks they have are really big, like 10 and 20,000 gallon tanks. And when they go in those tanks to work, we put them on, they have these, they're oxygen sensors, they're O2 sensors. They put these on and they make sure that when they're wearing these, when they go into these different tanks, that the air quality is good and they're able to breathe while they're inside it. I brought a dead one with me. This is an expired one. I just kept it for show and tell, if you will. But these body-worn O2 sensors are for those type of tanks. We have two other type of sensors for the guys who are working in tanks that have had chemicals already in them. Though they've been cleaned, we still want to make sure they're looking for more than just oxygen. They're sensing other gases as well to see is it safe to go in there. And they'll let the guys know, hey, it's not safe to go in here, or you're good to go. All is well. And these keys, here I'll show you. This lockout is mine. So it says right on here, property of me, Troy Schultz. And on the other side it says lockout, do not remove. Well, here's the deal. This is the key to this lock. That's it. Nobody else has a key to this lock. If I put this lock on an electrical box, if an electrician comes in here because there's a problem with this projector, and another maintenance person comes along and doesn't realize they're working on this, and let's pretend there's a breaker box in that closet, and the person working on it has turned the power off while they're working on this, but they haven't locked the box. They haven't secured the box. Other guy comes in and goes, well, the problem is it's off. And they throw the power back on while someone's working on this. What's going to happen? Electrocuted. There's a chance of electrocution, right. But this lock, it unlocks, and you can't take the key out of it with it unlocked. Once you lock it again, you can take the key back out of it. This lock says to somebody, hey, Troy tagged this out. Troy's working on something, or somebody's working on it. But I'm the only one with a key to it. That key, nobody else has a key to this lock. And we have them on the property, and they have people's names on them, and they're locked out to keep people safe. Again, coming back to what kind of a job are you looking for? If you're interested in this type of stuff, I mean, a safety person, safety training, going to Ridge, going to Travis. Polk has a school now in Bartow. It's Polk Corporate College. They have some advanced training, and it's not a degree program, but they have some advanced training in the type of work that we do out at Chemical Containers. On the end there, I have an AED. I don't know if you all have ever seen an AED. It's a defibrillator. It's you. If someone in here, if I fell out with a heart attack right now, if I hit the floor, I have no pulse. This machine could potentially save my life. At the police department, the guys carry them in their patrol cars. All the guys carry them in their patrol cars. We have one in every building, except this morning because I have one with me. The idea of this is, and here's the deal, when you do CPR training, and I encourage you all to do that, it's something you can do at your age and take with you, and you know how to use this. If I hit the floor right now, I have a button-up shirt so you guys could open that, but if not, it comes with scissors where you could cut clothing, expose the chest, and it shows you right where to put those pads. When you pull this down, there's pads that come out. And it starts analyzing on its own whether or not you would need to administer a shock to me. And here's the deal. If you didn't like me and I was on the floor and you thought, I'm going to shock him while I've got a chance, it won't let you shock me unless I need to be shocked. You can't mess it up. You can put it on somebody, and it will tell you to administer shock if it's supposed to, if you're supposed to do that. If you are not supposed to do it and you try, it's not going to. But it will talk you through. This one's a little more basic. We just ordered one that talks you fully through CPR. It keeps a rhythm for you where you're trying to get those 120 compressions in a minute. You pump, 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 pump. You know, and that would work directly with this. You're using a one-way valve mask. You would have it on my face, and you're doing CPR. You're doing 30 compressions right now. It's 30 to 2. So you're hitting those compressions. Give me 2 breaths. You're listening. I'm not going to instruct CPR, but it's easy to put these two together. And the new AEDs they have coming out, these are only about 2 years old, but the newer ones they have coming out, we've got one ordered now that it talks you right through full-on CPR. You can do them online. You can do them with the fire department puts them on occasionally. We use either the American Heart Association. Right now we have 30 people certified out at the chemical containers. Community Heart Partners. There's a variety of places that teach. The YMCA, I don't know in their situation now, they were teaching classes off and on. The library holds them occasionally. It's just a matter of looking for them. And it's something you can put on your application or your resume. It's important. When we have 100 people at work at the plant and we have 30 people certified, and we do that because we got 5 different buildings and there's people all over the property out there. So if something happens or somebody goes down, you've got a group of guys that are CPR, AED, and first aid certified. They know how to bandage people up. I mean, none of us are doctors or emergency personnel, but enough to sustain that person until an ambulance were to get there. The container on the end that I brought, you can see it's got a pictogram on it. It's an empty container. And I brought that, and I'm going to share a story with you. I'm going to keep it not too graphic because it was a graphic situation. All right, I got a couple, what do you think, safes or not safes?
Can you tell what's going on in that picture?
Standing on the forks of a forklift. Not safe. Not safe. There's a specific carriage that goes on there. How about this guy? Danger flammable gas. What's he doing? Smoking. Not safe. How about this guy? Stand on top of a ladder, like the top. Not safe. What do you think? He's got safety glasses, gloves, and a guard on his grinder. He's safe. He's doing it right. What about this guy? He's got a guard. He's got safety glasses, gloves, and a full face shield. Safe. See, these guys that are doing it safe are going home with no injuries. How about this guy? What do you think? He's on a ladder. How high, what do you think would make it not safe? 6 feet or more, you're supposed to be secured. If you're on a ladder over 6 feet tall, you're supposed to be tied off to it. This guy's not safe because when you're on a ladder, there's supposed to be 3 points of contact. What do I mean by 3 points of contact? And you guys can do this if you want to. 3 points of contact is 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet and 1 hand when you're working. This is a step ladder, and it has a platform at the top where you can actually go up to the top step. But if this were a ladder that was 6 foot tall, you're not supposed to use the top as a step. You're not supposed to swing your leg around the side. What I'm doing right now is actually a violation because I don't have 3 points of contact. It's one of these things where you have to look at stuff like, are the feet on the bottom like they're supposed to be? They're rubber, they're capped, they're non-slip. Is this thing rated for my body weight? It's for 300 pounds. And that 300 pounds isn't just me. It's me and the tools that I'm climbing on these ladders with. So if I got on a work belt, I got a big old tool that I'm working with, and my body weight, I'm like 225 pounds. So where's 300 pounds rating? And how safe can I work on a ladder? 3 points of contact. So no, that guy's not doing it right. He's taking a chance. About this guy. 3 points of contact. There's space above him. He's not on the top step. He's even got a partner to help him out. Here's your welder that you were talking about. So just looking at that arc, not even something shooting in your eye or a piece of metal getting loose in your eye, just that arc can burn your eyes, watching that burn without the appropriate face shield on. He does have on gloves, so here's his buddy, and he's doing it right. He's got on gloves, he's got on a face shield, actually a welder's hood, and he's wearing a welder's jacket that prevents any of those pieces that fly off from getting on him and burning his skin. This guy's doing it safe. He's using a drill press, safety glasses. It's all that's needed. He doesn't have to wear gloves because he's on a machine with rotating parts. He's not required to have those on. How about this guy?
Oh, I want to be the guy on the floor.
Yeah, you good?
Oh, boy.
Super safe, right? How about this guy? What's funny is in the forklift training that we have to do, it says that there's no horseplay or racing or anything like that on the forklifts. So, seems safe? Not so much. These guys need a little bit of shade. These fall under what if you Google it, OSHA violations. It's actually pictures of OSHA violations. You get that? Get in the shade. So why did I bring an empty container? Fill it up. What am I going to fill it up with? It's empty. I can fill it with flammable liquids. That's what the pictogram is illustrating, right? That this was a flammable liquid. It was alcohol. It was flammable. But why would I bring an empty container? OSHA says, and common sense should tell us, common sense is a scary word because it's defined so many ways, that when you have an empty container, you either have to dispose of it, or if you're going to put a chemical in it other than the chemical that originally came with it, you do have to thoroughly clean it, but you also have to relabel it. This says it's alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. What if I put hydraulic oil in here? What if I put water in here? It would look just like alcohol. What if I put lacquer thinner, like a paint thinner? Here's a story I want to share with this that will make you remember this jug. Go back probably, 12 years, maybe a little bit even longer than that. When I was at the police department, we were dispatched to a terrible crime scene. It was a kidnapping. It was shots fired. There was the building and people set on fire. Okay. Our first officer on scene was a canine handler. And it was common at times, because of the convenience of the packaging of the container, they carried their dog's water, and they were brand new, they never had gas in them, but they put their dog's water in gas cans. Now mind you, that we were dispatched to a place where it was on fire, and people had been burnt. The first officer that comes on scene, this canine guy, runs to his trunk, grabs, in his mind, what's his water jug, which is a red gas can, and he begins to pour it on a person that was burnt. So put yourself in the witness's shoes. Put yourself in the passerby. The container had never, ever had gasoline in it. It was water in a gas can. To everybody that passed, the look was terrible. Why is this officer pouring gasoline on a person that just got burnt and actually still had smoke coming off of them? Building's still on fire that the person just came out of. And the only reason I share that story with you is the officer wasn't doing a thing wrong, but it was perceived that he was doing a very bad thing. Only he knew what was in that jug. So if I put product in this jug that's not isopropyl alcohol, who's going to know it's anything other than what the label says? Me. That's right. This is just part of the job. But it's an important part because it's real common for people to finish a container and then put something else in it. And the only person that knows is them. From the heart, not necessarily work. I want to just talk to you about being a good student, good son or daughter, and a good employee. Communication is huge, guys. It's not just hearing, it's not just talking, it's not just expressing your opinions or your beliefs. It's hearing what everyone has to say and coming to a common good. I'm not talking about compromise. I'm not talking about you putting your standards, which you know to be true, and putting them away. But it's willing to hear people out, especially when you have somebody that's experienced in the field that's trying to teach you something. A teacher, your parent, a boss, a training person at work. When you go to work, go with an open mind, a willingness to learn, a willingness to retain what you've learned, and then the need to apply. When you come to work, you get there on time. You're a person of your word. You're a person of integrity. The company can trust you with personal stuff at work, be it financial, be it secrets of the company. I don't know, secrets or we use that word, but the personal, confidential information of the company, that you're trusted with that. That's important because not everybody is. You can be different. I heard a talk from a lady one time. She presented herself with the question, why not me? This is a lady, I don't know if you've heard her name before or not, and I don't know if you like her or not. Her name is Val Demings. If you don't know her, you can Google her. She's been all in the news. She's gone from being a police chief in Orlando to running for Senate-type seats. But Val is this. Val's story, she's a simple girl, grew up in the projects. She saw what was going on around her, and she said, why not me? Why not be the person to be somebody different? Why not me be the person to take my family to a different level? Why not me be the parent that my parents couldn't be? Why not me be the employee that others weren't being? So Val began applying herself. Average girl, average school, nothing special about her background, nothing. This is her story, not mine. I'm telling her story. But Val then, she begins to grow and advance in her career at Orlando Police Department. She becomes a police chief. She's married to the sheriff of Orange County, and she's the police chief of Orlando. She gets herself in a position of influence of the community, influence of all those people who were coming to work there. And she did it just because she didn't want to be status quo. She didn't compromise and say, enough, just enough is good enough. It wasn't. She pushed herself. So when you guys are thinking to yourselves, hey, it's just me, I've got this average GPA, or I don't have any advanced classes, or my parents are just this. My son followed me in law enforcement. My daughter followed her grandparents into the education field. Both my mom was a teacher and my mother-in-law were teachers. You guys can do that. You can follow in the footsteps of your parents. If you see that you want to do more, apply yourselves. Take that lesson from Val and say, why not me? Why not you be the person that breaks that mold and becomes something different, something new, something bigger than you even think you can do right now, because you've got potential. If your mind is telling you, I can't do it, I want to speak to your potential. And your potential is that you can, and that you will if you apply yourself. But that's the key. You've got to want it, you've got to apply yourself.